Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here. I was here 2 years ago, and at that time I was talking about our, how we use Zabbix for monitoring our Java platform. And today I want to talk about how we can automate the configuration of our Zabbix platform. Who am I? I have a strong Java background, Java enterprise background. I'm using JBoss now for more than a decade. So JBoss is one of the most used Java application servers. In my company, I'm working for a team which is called Strategy and Architecture. We are writing technical guidelines, supporting our engineers by developing software. We are maintaining central software infrastructure, for example, the Java application servers or our enterprise service bus. And monitoring is only one part of our tasks. I like running, so if anybody wants to join me for a run afterwards, talk to me. Some words to our company. The company has a vital history, I would say. So first we were Jamba, then we were VeriSign, Fox Mobile, Jester, and now we are part of the Freenet group. Freenet is one of the largest independent telecommunications providers in Germany. And we have about 300 professionals based in Berlin and in LA. We are active in the part of mobile entertainment. What do I want to talk about today? So first I want to talk about our current monitoring configuration process. So how do we configure Zabbix? How we do introduce hosts, items, triggers. And then I want to talk about the requirements for automating this configuration. We decided to use the Zabbix API as a solution for this. And we decided to use a custom management tool for it. So we have a separate application which is used for configuring our server landscape, and the automation will be integrated in that custom management tool. Performance is always an issue, and at the end I want to talk about some experiences and the outcome of the project. So meanwhile, in this project, we migrated from Zabbix 1.8 to Zabbix 2.2, and I also want to share some experience we had with this migration. This is our Zabbix setup, which I would say it's pretty simple. So we have one central Zabbix server. The front end is on the same machine. We are using MySQL as a database backend, as many of you do, and we are monitoring Java servers, Java application servers. There is one feature I like very much. This is the proxy feature of Zabbix, and we use it also for monitoring hosts which are located in the cloud. So we have some hosts which are running in the cloud, and if these hosts start up, they just send a message to our Zabbix proxy. They tell, okay, I'm a new instance, I want to be monitored, and using the Zabbix auto-registration feature, these hosts are automatically registered inside our database. So this is a very cool feature. We are using Zabbix since 2008, so we started with 1.6, we had 1.8 for a very long time, and this year in July we finally migrated to 2.5. We have several installations, so one for our lab, one for testing purposes, and one for production. And we are monitoring, as I already have said, JVMs, Java virtual machines. We also used the sponsored development in the past, so there were some features which were developed by Zabbix SIA for our purposes, and which were also integrated into the open source version. how do we currently configure our Zabbix system? So we are using Zabbix templates. Quite easy. We are importing these templates into Zabbix. And this is really a manual process now. These templates are a little bit, I would say, dynamic. So we also have a configuration system, a configuration file, which is passed, and a so-called template generator is generating these templates before they are imported. This is some kind of error-prone, and the maintenance efforts are very high. Sometimes when it comes to big software deployments, the import process takes very long, so it's up to 5 minutes for some of our templates. This is an example template. Of course it's XML, and there are also some dynamic parts. So for example, we are monitoring our exceptions which are occurring in the logs. And for every exception which can possibly occur, there is one entry in one of these templates. What were the requirements for automating this complex configuration? We wanted to achieve that all of the administrative tasks can be realized without using the Zabbix frontend. So the Zabbix frontend is only for read-only access, so for accessing the latest data, for example, for using graphs and screens. We wanted to reduce our maintenance efforts for the configuration. This is a rather complex requirement. So what we wanted to achieve was to assign the templates to different abstraction levels. So for example, if different versions of a software are deployed on our servers, we also wanted to make sure that only some configurations are assigned to these versions. So if you imagine that a developer, for example, creates a monitoring hook inside the software, we also wanted to make sure that the configuration is only assigned to that specific version. This is a rather complex requirement. And we also wanted to make sure that the operations team, which is good at administrating Unix servers, for example, should not require such a deep knowledge of Zabbix. Configuration process should be easy, and of course, performance always plays an important role in that area. As I said, we are using a custom management application for the integration. The application is responsible for doing our server management, for hosting our service repository. And Zabbix configuration process should be integrated in that application. So items, triggers, macros, hosts, all that stuff should be created, updated, deleted, and so on. So imagine every operation you could do in the Zabbix front end. Then we have a synchronization process. So every configuration created inside that application can be synchronized with our current Zabbix installation. And there is no need anymore to edit text files, XML templates, and so on. So this is much less error-prone. We were using the Zabbix API for this. So starting with Zabbix 1.8, the API was introduced. This was not possible before with version 1.6. And the API is one of the killer features, I would say, for enterprise deployments. We worked on that project. We started 3 years ago, so it's been a long time since that. And it's not live yet, so we are still working on it. We started with a basic implementation of a Java API client. The idea was to use that client in different let's say applications. So one example is our central management application, but we could also use a shell script for our Unix administrators or another application. The idea was to avoid any hard-coded access of the API inside these clients. And we also wanted to provide a generic error handling for all of our clients, so that it's very easy to use these client. Yeah, some other requirements we had. As I said, we use the central management application for configuring. We wanted to assign the monitoring configuration to different levels, and so on. So our goal was that it should be very easy to implement complex use cases of the configuration. We also wanted to realize that special requirements can be done. So for example, if only one user wants to change the threshold of one certain trigger on a certain machine for a certain time frame, this should also be possible. And this is not so easy if you're using templates. This is a screenshot of our central management application where all the hosts and servers are registered. What did we learn so far during the implementation? Well, the template approach was not the best one. This was the first attempt we did, but it turned out to be a little bit inflexible with regard to frequent changes. So if you just want to change, for example, only the delay of one single item in the whole configuration, this is not so easy with templates. So nobody wants to import a new template just for that simple change. We decided to go without any templates. So the whole integration is now done just with items based on hosts. This gained a lot more flexibility during the implementation. And as I said, we don't want to use the Zabbix frontend anymore for doing configuration. So we also can avoid any errors which are done by Zabbix users in the front end. This is what we already have. So we have an availability monitoring, which is based on simple TCP checks. So we just monitor whether the application servers are available. And this can also be already used in our existing application. It's quite simple, TCP checks. So we don't use any web monitoring, HTTP monitoring, just simple TCP checks on the HTTP port. This shows the process, how the configuration is done in the front end. So the user creates host groups, creates hosts, items, triggers, macros, just by using the new front end. The user is assigning configuration, is assigning templates, and at the end of the day, the synchronization button is pressed, and the whole configuration is synced to Zabbix via the Zabbix API. So this looks rather simple, but it can be quite complex depending on the whole configurations. So what did we learn during the implementation? The Zabbix API in version 1.8, the design is sometimes a bit poor. So not all operations can be used as mass operations. The error handling is insufficient. So there is one generic error message for most of the cases, and it is really hard to figure out what exactly is the error, what happened. This has much improved in the latest versions, so we are very happy to have it in Zabbix 2.2. And also there are often additional calls required because Zabbix is only returning some internal IDs. So maybe this gets better in future versions. As I said, production was migrated in July. So the migration from 1.8 to 2.0, the database migration took almost 9 hours, which is okay, I think. And the migration from 2.0 to 2.2 was very fast. Keep in mind that you need enough temporary table space when using MySQL for that. We had a higher effort to migrate the templates to the Zabbix 2.0 style. And I also figured out that there were some, let's say, interesting XML structures afterwards. We have refactored our availability checks. So we moved from the template design to a host design. So in the past we had one template for the so-called availability monitoring. And the status quo is now that every availability check is based on the host itself. So that makes it much easier thanks to the interface concept which was introduced in Zabbix 2.0. And we also plan to merge our production instance with the integration instance so that we only have one central Zabbix server. That makes maintenance much more easy. Yeah, that was also a nice effect after the migration. The database performs much better. So we always have a look at the so-called history syncer usage. So everything can be visualized with Zabbix, and the usage decreased by almost 5% after we migrated to Zabbix 2.2. Frontend is much faster. Yeah, we are using the interface concept. What we did not test yet is a new, let's say, JMX interface. So we are very happy with our current design. We are using a Java agent in every application server, which is deployed everywhere. And until now, there was no need to use the JMX agent provided by Zabbix. Yeah, performance lessons. Now, after 6 years of Zabbix operation, yeah, the MySQL database tuning is required for high throughput. So we don't use the Zabbix internal housekeeper. We are using MySQL partitioning to avoid the concurrent byte blocking behavior. We moved from, first we had a virtual machine for the database, then we had a physical machine, and now we are again on a virtual machine, but we have a really fast storage behind. So we migrated this year to fast EMC VNX storage. We always use internal metrics for analysis. Yeah, for example, to visualize the history, syncer usage, and yeah, what we try to avoid in the future is to wait too long for any updates. So we want to migrate to Zabbix 2.4, hopefully in a very short time. Yeah, this is nothing spectacular, I think. We all have already seen higher numbers today, but there is still a lot of room for increasing the number of hosts and the number of items. Yeah, what is the outcome of our monitoring automation project? We have started the project in 2011, and it's still not finished. We have learned a lot in that time, maybe due to the complex business requirements. The next problem is that the project does not have much business priority, so there are only students working on it, and yeah, hopefully we will switch live in 2015. Yeah, to sum it up, the decision for Zabbix as a monitoring system for our Java platform was definitely a good one. High performance and scalability is possible, but of course not out of the box. We have a support contract since, I think, 2008, and the professional support is recommended for really mission-critical systems, especially when you don't have any monitoring specialist in your rows, and we are doing a lot of other things than monitoring. And yeah, we also want to honor the open source efforts done by the Zabbix company itself. The automation of Zabbix configuration is not as simple as we thought. So we required some knowledge about Zabbix internals, and of course the API and its documentation evolved over the different versions. So in version 2, it's better than in version 1.8. Yeah, never stop learning about Zabbix. It's important to report your problems, your features back to the community so that everybody can contribute. And of course, this is what you are doing here. Attend the nice Zabbix conference. Thanks a lot.
What is the version of the Java EE?
What is the version of Java EE?
Yes.
Yes, we are still using Java EE version 5. So we have a very old version, and we are currently in the process of migrating to Java EE 6, based on Zabbix API version 6. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
But that doesn't play a big role in that area. Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit what's going on here in JMX checks in your applications?
Yeah, why we are using JMX?
No, not why, but a little bit describe.
Okay.
What's the matter again? Thank you.
Well, I mean, if you know JMX a little bit, it is a perfect possibility for monitoring and for management. And what we are doing is just, checking all the possible JMX items of the JVM. So the JVM itself already provides a lot of checks. And we are also using custom checks. So for example, some developers implement checks in their software. We are also using some specific checks from JBoss, from Tomcat. I mean, as long as the availability is possible, it's really easy.
So this checks is coming from using low-level discovery or GMX checks. What's the nature of these checks?
No, not low-level discovery.
I know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, most of the application servers today provide some possibilities to monitor. And they have a JMX interface, and it's just easy to gather all that data. Yeah. And if it's not there, just write your custom checks. So this is not a problem. Yeah.
So a lot of your deployments, they seem to be doing, you're saying you're attaching all the items directly to the host rather than a template. Yes. So this is deployment, even though you mentioned in the cloud, this is a specific deployment that you're doing for an instance at a time. You're not using auto-scaling and auto-registration.
Yes.
Okay. How would you, it seems to me like that approach wouldn't work for an auto-scaled, auto-registered host because you have nothing to attach it to.
So the question is why we are using no templates but host items, or? Well, it's more flexible, I think. I mean, if you just import the templates, it is easy to manage. But if you have a solution based on the APIs, you always have to deal with templates. And so, for example, changing only one specific attribute, for example, on an item requires to change the template again. And that is inflexible.
Okay, so those items, things like the update intervals are changeable on the individual host still. They don't have to be done on a template. And it seems to me that it takes away some of the flexibility of auto-scaling that you'd get in Amazon, for example, when a new host spins up automatically and you want it to auto-register to be monitored. How would you manage that when you've got to actually deploy it through this external system which sets up a host? You got other plugs into that system that then push back into Zabbix, or what?
Not sure if I got your question. The hosts are only automatically added during auto-registration. So the hosts are coming from the system just by configuring from our external application. So if a user configures a check, for example, the host is automatically created then. So.
Yeah. So my point is that it's not an auto-scaling solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Have you ever been to the point where you had more than one Java virtual machine on a host?
Yes.
How did you deal with the fact that you cannot use the same item key for two different virtual machines?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a question of running the agent on a different port. So if there are two JVMs on one machine, there are two Java agents, and every one has a different port.
Okay, but then in Zabbix server you have only one host, right?
Yes, before 2.0. So with
No. I got that.
Yeah.
You have two like JMX interfaces.
Yes.
And but you cannot have two items with the same item key. Like if they have the identical item key. Like for example, JVM uptime.
You mean if they're on the same host?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct. So you need to create another host then.
Okay, so you duplicated the host.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.